Yes, good evening, Dr. Gupta.
Hi, good evening.
Good evening. And your slides are visible and you're very well audible. So, good evening, everyone. So, welcoming you all for this today's meeting where we have a wonderful speaker, Dr. Danny Gupta, with us, who is giving to us a presentation on the choosing upfront immune checkpoint inhibitor for the metastatic NSCLC. And we give a very short intro of Dr. Danny Gupta. He is currently working as a senior consultant medical and hemato-oncologist at Department of Medical Oncology at Dharamshila Narayan Hospital, Delhi, Delhi. He has a vast, almost 12 to 14 years of experience. Did his MBBS from the Calicut Hospital, the University of Calicut, Kerala, and the DNP Medicine from the Tangaram Hospital, and DNP Medical Oncology from RGCI Delhi. He has published various different papers and presented various papers and articles at the different conferences. And he is also member of ESMO and the Indian Medical Association, Delhi Medical Association. So without wasting any time, I will hand over to Dr. Gupta. So over to you, sir.
Thanks, Dr. Malkesh, and welcome to all the attendees who are going to attend this CME. So at the outset, I would like to thank the MSD people also. So this is my, I think, first meeting online webinar regarding this immuno-oncology of from the MSD side. That is pembrolizumab with the name of Keytruda. So with this, we have non-small cell lung cancer stage 4 with us, so many patients, and we have known since last decade or so, we have driver mutations and targeted drug for that with very successful results. And patients, as of now, before that, we were thinking, we were seeing stage 4 lung cancer surviving only around 1 year or so. But now, to our surprise, we are seeing even up to I would say 4 years, 5 years in those who are having driver mutation, EGFR cross. But now I think now this decade is coming off PD-L1 inhibitor, and in last 2-3 years we have gained confidence and in these molecules. Let us see how it goes. So before starting this discussion, I would just like to say the overview of this my talk, and which is very well prepared. Changing landscape in the management of metastatic non-small cell lung cancer. What if we reserve immunotherapy for second-line non-small cell cancer based on Keynote 010? Means whether we can keep this immuno-oncological drug for second line, or we should use upfront only to get the better and long-term advantage. What are the guidelines? NCCN, which is our recommended standard world over followed, and in our country also. And what we should know additionally apart from these. So, lung cancer prevalence in India. So, this is a Globocan data which was accessed of recently around 3-4 months back only. And they have taken 2018 data, and they have estimated incidence and prevalence of all the solid malignancies and also hematological malignancies altogether. So breast, obviously, we all know that is the number one in incidence as well as prevalence in our country. Lip oral cavity is the second. Cervix is the third one. Although cervix is the number one in some part of the country, but overall the breast is the number one. Yeah. Fourth is the lung cancer, which we are going to deal today. And incidence wise as well as prevalence wise, it is coming at number 4. This lung cancer. If we talk about incidence and mortality, again same Globocan data 2018. So this lung cancer is the fourth most frequent among new cancer cases. Breast, lips, cervix, and lungs. Fourth common. And in mortality wise, it is the third most common, highest mortality in the lung cancer patients. So this is a very valid reason for incidence and mortality, why we should be aware about recent advances of these particular cancer. So there are 3 main pillars of treatment in metastatic lung cancer, non-small cell. Chemotherapy, we all know, age old, we are using, we will continue to use in selected subsets. Similarly, these are targeted therapy for driver mutations, EGFR, cross, MET, BRAF. There are so many molecules, these targeted, I would say, molecular agents are coming in this era. And third is the immune checkpoint inhibitor, which we are discussing today. So chemotherapy, it's used all across lines of the therapy. I have seen example, first line, second line, third line, even fourth line. So in second line, usually a single agent is recommended like docetaxel, pramipexole, gemcitabine. We have been using all these molecules left and right since very long. And basically, this was the backbone of therapy for patients with lung cancer. It's still today if we combine in some subset with the immuno-oncological drugs. Yeah, in center, this is EGFR ALK positive patient. Here, we can go completely without chemotherapy. So regarding EGFR, we all know Gefitinib, Erlotinib, Afatinib, Osimertinib, Lorlatinib. There are so many molecules targeting against this. For ALK also, we have 4-5 molecules available with us. And very good result. Patients are surviving beyond the 3 years, 4 years or so. And PDL1 high expressing patients, either in second line or first line. Sorry. So indication and approval regarding this particular subset of treatment is varying from country to country for various reasons. But we discussed as per the standard world over today. It is recommended in first line as well as second line. Pembrolizumab PDL1 expression where more than equal to 50% is the expression TPS score on the biopsy sample. There it is recommended as a first line as a single agent. If it is more than 1, up to 49, we come to that later on also. So we can use this pembrolizumab along with chemotherapy. We should use, in fact, along with chemotherapy for better results. Although other options are available, we come to those options also. So regarding chemotherapy milestone, how we have achieved, how we have gone through this developmental phase in last so many years. This is very historical data from 1948, since division of this India and Pakistan. 1948, nitrogen mustard was there, and even we are not aware of this chemotherapy, which we were our seniors were using. And then came the MOP-like regime, which is still sometimes used for Hodgkin lymphoma, and is meclorothamine, oncovine, procarbazine, and prednisolone. So this is MOP regime, and historically all these older drugs were giving very dismal results. 1 year overall survival was only 10 to 15%. Not much improvement with these first generation of drugs, unless until we gained with the platinum, and then came the vinblastine, mitomycin, ifosfamide, this second generation chemotherapy. So for 1 year overall survival increased to 25%. And then third generation chemotherapy are including till today. We have pemetrexed, nevelbine, and docetaxel, nab-paclitaxel. So these are, we can combine with the platinum agents. And pemetrexed was approved in 2008. I remember my DNB when I started my DNB. So this was a new drug which was approved, and we were reluctant to use this drug initially, but now it is well settled. This is pemetrexed. And then came the discussion of bevacizumab, whether we can club with the chemo or not. So this was slightly debatable in between, but now it is also well established where we are not having any cavity lesion in the lung cancer. So we can very well combine bevacizumab. And in 2017, we have first approval of this immuno-oncology, that is pembrolizumab as a monotherapy. So since 2017 till today, so it's almost 3 years, and these drugs were trying to come into practice. And now, as an oncologist, we have gained, as I said, much confidence in immuno-oncology because we know where to use, how to select those patients where these can give better results. So these have established now very well in the treatment schema. Regarding EGFR mutation positive, long journey since 1997. There was a developmental phase, then came the Gefitinib, then IPAS in 2009, it was approved. I think first line Gefitinib better than CT. So IPAS trial was a landmark for this Gefitinib. Then came the Optimal, and then came the Erlotinib, Afatinib, Lux-Lung CN6 in the Afatinib as compared to chemotherapy. Then Archer has come this year only. First line Decamitinib is approved. And then Aura was there for comparison of osimertinib. Then Flora was the latest one, which has established the osimertinib as the first line drug best among all. TKIs for EGFR mutation positive. So there is a long journey, and day by day, year by year, we are learning more and more how to sequence these so many molecules available with us. Similarly, for ALK translocation, we have 4, 5, 6 options. In fact, crizotinib Profile 1014 was the landmark trial which has approved the crizotinib. Then came the ceritinib, alectinib. JLX was the landmark for alectinib. Brigatinib was also approved. ALEX was approved for ALEX was a trial for first line alectinib as compared to crizotinib. Because before that, crizotinib was the standard of care, but now alectinib can be taken as a standard of care if patient is affording. And then newer one is coming up this year, lorlatinib and brigatinib. Now this is the part which we are discussing. We are going to discuss today, that immuno-oncological drugs, and the key drug among this group is the pembrolizumab. As a monotherapy, it is indicated for the first-line treatment of the metastatic non-small cell lung cancer in adults whose tumors express PD-L1 more than equal to 50% TPS score on biopsy samples with no driver mutation available in the background. Meaning the patients who have EGFR or ALK, our first option is to hit with those available molecules on the oral TKI. If the patient is not having these driver mutations, then obviously we will switch over to PD-L1 analysis. If it is more than 50 or equal to 50, obviously we can use as a monotherapy combination. Second point is that if it is more than 1 equal to 1 up to 49. So in this scenario, it is recommended as a monotherapy, although in those patients who have achieved one line chemotherapy in earlier phase. So this is recommended as a second line over here. Although of late that guidelines are changing day by day, so now it is approved even in the first line with the combination of chemotherapy if TPS score is more than equal to 1. Those 200 milligram every 3 weekly in first line. Second line, although they have said 2 milligram per kilogram, infusion time is 30 minutes and every 3 weekly. Till we are getting the response or maybe 2-year time span is a cutoff if we are using in the first line, 35 cycles. So, to begin with about this pembrolizumab, there was a keynote 010, and this trial was particularly for the usage of this drug in the second line. Means the patients who have been exposed to first line of chemotherapy earlier, and they have TPS score of more than equal to 1%. So, what if we can reserve this drug for second line? It will be good idea or not a good idea? We have to see. So this was a trial in which they have compared pembrolizumab with the docetaxel. Advanced non-small cell lung cancer, more than equal to 1% TPS score, confirmed progressive disease after more than 2 cycles of platinum doublet chemotherapy, or even they have taken the targeted therapy for driver mutated patients. This is the main thing. They have included those EGFR ALK patients also. Good performance status. No active brain metastasis, no active autoimmune disease, no receive of more than 30 grams of thoracic radiation within the last 26 weeks, no ILD or pneumonitis requiring systemic steroids. So these were some key exclusion criteria. We all know that these drugs do have immunological side effects sometimes. So therefore, they have already excluded these things which patients might be having upfront. So in this trial, they have divided into 3 arms because I think this was the dose finding study also for this particular drug. In one arm, they have taken 2 milligram per kilogram every 3 weeks. Second arm was 10 milligram per kg every 3 weeks. And third was the docetaxel, which was the standard of care till that period. So it's every 3 weekly. So treatment was continued until disease progression or unacceptable safety issue was there. Primary outcome was overall survival, progression-free survival in both population, more than 1 or more than 50% TPS. Secondary outcome obviously was response rate and duration of response. So this was the Kaplan-Meier curve in which they have shown the PFS, progression-free survival, which is 5.2 months with the 2 milligram per kilogram, In fact, same outcome with the 10 milligram per kilogram, and docetaxel is shown the 4.1 month. So p-value is quite significant. Therefore, I think based on this, they have established the dose of 2 milligram per kilogram as a standard dose if we are going by the weight wise. And in patients, previously this was for more than 50% TPS, and this is more than 1%. Even for the more than 1% TPS, so pembrolizumab was more or less equivalent in both dosages and with significant p-value. So now OS analysis of the same trial, and if you see the at 35 months, they have taken the cutoff point, roughly around so roughly around 3 years. So 35% was the overall survival in this experimental group, as compared to 13% in the chemotherapy arm. So this is huge difference in the pembrolizumab arm. For TPS, more than 1, OS is almost doubled. For more than 50, it is almost tripled. 13 to 36, 11 to 23. So it is almost doubled in TPS, more than equal to 1, with the single agent of pembrolizumab. And median overall survival was 11.8 months, but 23% patient was surviving even around at 3 years. And we can see the curve, they are still separated, and even after 4 years, they are still separating and continue to like this one. So secondary endpoint for this trial, Keynote 010, overall response rate was roughly around 30% for this dose, 32% for 10 milligram per kg, 9% for docetaxel. So I think therefore this is equivalent in both dosages, and median duration of response not reached in both arms of this pembrolizumab. For TPS more than 1, again overall response rate is equivalent 20% if it is more than 1%, but response rate is 30% if it is more than 50% TPS. So these are the key points we should keep in mind while practicing in our OPD. So exposure and treatment related adverse event in the overall survival overall population, grade 3 to 5, it's 16% as compared to 36% in the docetaxel arm. So discontinuation was seen in 6% in pembrolizumab, 11% in docetaxel. So I think this is also well acceptable range for any drugs to have particular side effects. So after this approval, that it was approved in the second line or with combination drugs, then came the Keynote 024, with which they have just tried to see whether this single agent is sufficient and giving good result or not in standard doses of 200 milligrams, because there might be more studies in between with which they have reached the conclusion that standard dose of pembrolizumab is not exactly 2 milligram per kilogram, but it is 200 milligram flat dose. So whether we should use this drug upfront, so that was a trial, untreated patients, frontline, both options were given. Almost similar inclusion criteria, exclusion criteria as the previous study. This was a pembrolizumab up to 35 cycles and platinum doublet for 4 to 6 cycles. For non-squamous only pemetrexed maintenance was allowed, because we know in adenocarcinoma we are giving pemetrexed maintenance even for 2 years, 3 years, and if patient is progressive, then we can switch over to pembrolizumab to the experimental arm, from placebo, from control to experimental arm. Switchover was allowed basically, and primary endpoint was PFS. Secondary endpoint was overall survival and response rate and safety analysis. So this was the progression-free survival curve with the pembrolizumab, and it is showing 10.3 months as compared to 6 months with the chemotherapy. So it is almost 80% improvement over and above the chemotherapy. And we can see the actually curves are separating after 3 months, although we are getting response within a month or so. But benefit apart from over and above chemotherapy is visible after 3 months. So this is the OS analysis. Last slide we have seen the progression-free survival. Overall survival, we have seen the 3 arms, pembrolizumab, middle one is the chemotherapy, downward is the crossover adjusted chemotherapy. So even in the crossover, they are showing 40% overall survival at 1 year. And in the pembrolizumab monotherapy, from the very beginning, it is showing 70% overall survival in 1 year. That is huge. And median OS is 30 months. So roughly around 3 years is the median overall survival, as compared to 14 months with the chemotherapy arm. So it is never ever heard of this outcome of around 30-month OS with the any drug without non-chemotherapeutic drugs. So updated analysis of this OS have been published, and they have shown even I think 42 months and beyond, and the benefit over chemotherapy continue to maintain even up to 4 years, and it is up to 40% at 4 years and as compared to 23% over survival in the chemotherapy arm. So median over survival is still 26.3 months in long-term analysis. So duration of response, overall response rate is 45% as compared to 30% roughly, and median time to response is 2 months. As we have seen in the graph also, 2 to 3 months they are showing the separation of the curve. 2 months is the key time for achieving the some response. Treatment-related adverse event including grade 3 to 5. Here they are showing 31% adverse event which were grade 3 to 5, and out of those 23% was the serious, as compared to 53% grade 3 to 5 with chemotherapy. So I was just saying both, like even in the chemotherapy arm, side effect percentage they are showing much. Actually, we are not seeing this much percentage of 53% grade 3 to 5 in chemotherapy or 30% with the pembrolizumab. Whatever experience we have with the pembrolizumab, this is not that much practically. And infusion reaction also they have shown roughly around, I believe, 34%, and grade 3 to 5 infusion reaction is 13%. And that is also not that high practically. So what are the guidelines world over which suggest, because guideline includes the published data and the expert panel recommendation also. So this was a flow chart. PDL1 expression more than equal to 50. EGFR, AL, GWAS, BRAF, MET, red were negative. So in those scenarios, say for example adenocarcinoma, squamous, so this differentiation was there for sometimes chemotherapy or driver mutation. For immuno-oncological drug, this differentiation doesn't matter whether patient has adenocarcinoma or squamous. So preferred in both arms, it is the pembrolizumab, that is category 1. Pembrolizumab is a preferred regime, and in fact combination is also preferred one, category 1. So category 1 along with chemotherapy or atezolizumab is also an option. So patients progressing on response or stable disease, we can give the continuation maintenance for I believe 35 cycles, that is roughly 2 years is the recommended time span of maintenance. For those patients who have 1 to 49% expression, definitely here combination is recommended with the chemotherapy. Or atezolizumab is also recommended with the combination. Other options are nivolumab, ipilimumab, certain circumstances. So both are similar options, either say for example squamous or adeno, doesn't matter here also. So apart from this standard knowledge and approval, what do we know additionally? So this was the newer thought process which are coming out in some trials for other solid tumor also. PFS2 means once we have exposed the patient to this particular drug, pembrolizumab, so obviously we are getting the PFS1, very good PFS2, but they are saying PFS2 means if we put on the second line treatment, it could be anything. even then response, they are showing the good response PFS2. And this response is maybe partially because of upfront pembrolizumab. This is the thought process. And PFS2, if you see that 59.7% at 1 year, and for 1.5 year, 51%. So benefit is continuing to maintain over a period of time. And PFS2 also, it's better with the pembrolizumab. Our response rate is 20% in the this pembrolizumab, and duration of response in patients who cross over to on-study pembrolizumab is still better. 35 cycle, 2 years of pembrolizumab completed. In this particular trial, they have shown CR was achieved in 3 patients out of 38, that is 8% patients, 70% has partial response. Duration of response not reached, and time to response was 2 months. So these were the clinical endpoints when they analyzed the PFS2 data. So to summarize about these two key trials, that is 043010, we have already discussed all these endpoints. Median PFS was better. PFS2 is also better, that is 18.3 months. OS is better 26 months with the single agent pembrolizumab. And earlier trial also was showing better, but I think for the practice, this is a standard trial to follow, Keynote 024. So this is prescribing package insert for pembrolizumab. At least the one who is using first time, they should ideally go through the package insert. So it is recommended as whatever is there. So latest recommendation are included in this package insert, and how to administer, what are the warnings and precautions, what are contraindications, what are the side effect profile. Immune-mediated hepatitis is there, sometimes pneumonitis is there. So all sort of inflammatory reactions, colitis is there, we can see in some subset of patients. So we should be alert about all these side effects, alert enough, so that we can intervene early with the steroid treatment and stoppage of this particular drug. And once the patient recovers, then we can have some chances of reuse of this drug if the side effect profile was less than it was if it is grade 1 or 2 only. So in this trial, they also do mention some landmark trial based on which they have got approval, and also for the side effect profile, they included some trials. So we must